Okay, so we're ready to start where we left off on our demo from Saturday, October 13th. It's been a couple of days now, so the paint that was on the canvas has had a chance to dry down, and I've had a couple of days to reflect on the painting and decide where some changes may need to be made or some finish up work needs to be attempted. Probably the first and main thing that I noticed was that this area here, where I had the light sand coming in, I felt cutting off the painting at an odd angle. So I decided that this color that's closer in value to the water here was a better match. There's plenty of color change between these two things to establish that line, which gives us our perspective and helps us understand the scale changes here. So I'm going to just work in and try and pull some of this color into the sand area as a starting point and see if that helps my composition. At the end of to remind you, at the end of our demo last time, I determined that my composition would be better served if I cropped out a whole lot of this foreground area. And I think I'll stay committed to that, but we'll see once I've added in this deeper color that's more this value. So let's start there. I'm just gonna take a sort of a medium thickness brush, and like the other day, I'm just gonna work quickly and lightly to get some paint on the canvas. I've already mixed a color and I've tested it, and it's pretty close to what I wanted. So I'm just gonna come in and pull some of that color into the painting. Now it's a different texture because I'm working wet over dry, but I kind of like that I'm getting these brush strokes. Now, oh, that helps already. That's much better. So I'm happy we did that. And I'll go back in a little bit and work some of these other, pull some of the blues from the rest of the painting into that. But for now, I think that snaps this whole area together as a unit. So I think the division of space is much better. While I have this color out, I'm probably going to work a little of that color into my water. And then also I'm going to start to pull a couple of brights selectively into this area too. If you recall, even though this area looks pretty bright, we did gray that down just a hair so that if we wanted to come back in with some brighter brights, they would still pop out. So we'll also be working a little of that in there. So let's try and do a little bit of that. And again, I think a little goes a long way. We're just trying to make some minor adjustments and to pop some dimension and depth into this. Okay, now I like what that's doing. It's starting to pull the sandy area, once again, a little more cohesive with, okay, I think that's probably enough. I don't want to overdo that. I don't want to lose the integrity of that blue mass of the water there. Now I'm going to mix a nice bright blue. I'm just going to do cerulean, which was sort of the base color that we started with to mix this, and white. Let's keep it approximately the same value as what's already there. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, okay. So again, I'm just looking to pick out a few spots where I can bring some sparkle into the water. mostly keeping those to the foreground because that's where we would tend to see a little more intensity. Okay. I probably also want to do a little bit of that in the sand. Again, I don't want to overdo that. I don't want to make the eye get too busy here finding all the bright spots, but I think a little brighter here will actually enhance the effect of the color here. So I'm going to do a similar thing, but I'm going to use my dioxazine violet and just mix it with a little white so it's unadulterated. And let's see. Well, that's awfully bright. We had grayed that down so much. So I'm going to be very discriminating with this and keep it more towards the water line. Okay, I'm going to use those brights as a way to lead the eye into the composition and towards our focal points. And I think that's about enough there. So now we're going to spend a little bit of time looking at our figures and see if there's anything that needs attending to there. I like the loose attitude, and just the very little drawing here is just all somewhat alluded to, and I think that's working pretty well. So one of my main objectives is to be careful not to overwork these figures and try to be too literal with them. That said, I feel that there is a little drawing work to be done in this figure here to make that head and neck pose more readable, and also there's something lost in proportions back here, so I'm going to work at that just a tad. This figure has lost some proper proportioning, so I'm going to just make a few adjustments there. And then finally, I think that this male figure here, I think we dubbed him the Dude, needs a little finish up work in the drawing, and I felt like ultimately we overplayed his shirt, and I think that we need to tone that back just a hair. So we'll work at that, and then I think we'll be ready to make any tiny last minute adjustments and put a lid on it. So I think where I'd like to start is here with this young woman whose name was Madame X, I believe. So let's go to Madame X and spend a little time fixing up that finish. Now the first thing I noticed is that her face was not in full light. It was partly in shadow, and I don't have very good definition on the shape of her head, so I'm going to do just a few small things to try and correct that. First of all, we needed to give her a chin. Everybody deserves a chin, I think. Now we're going to be working a little back and forth here to establish that. We're going to try and carve out that shape a little bit. So I'm going to be going back into my water area and just come in and try and establish that shape a little bit better. Okay, that's better already. And it looks like somebody has shot off the back of her head, so we're gonna bring some of that back for her. Again, these are just small adjustments. That's better. And she has a little bit of a neckline where her face goes into her neck because she's turning it, so I'm going to give her a little of that here. And then her skin tone on her face needs to be a little darker than what it was. And I'm going to underplay that and just make it just slightly darker if possible. And let's see how that works. Not quite. Let's try that. There we go. All right, that works. And so we need to give her bottom back. So I'm going to do a little mixing to try and recreate that color of her little play suit. There we go. There. Okay, so I'm starting to see. Okay. Much better physically, physique-wise. Just need to soften down this edge. It's I feel like she's popping too hard out of the background, and she's got a lot of full sun on her, so I'm going to tone that down, kind of imply the way the sun is filling that space. I also think I made her a little long-waisted, and I'm going to try and do that and then reclaim a little of this leg. Let's try about there. And now go back in with some of the part of the leg that was in the sun and see if the two things make her more credible. Okay. And okay. Still need to come back with some of these shadow areas here to understand one leg falling in front of the other. There we go, that's better. And we know that the sun is still a little higher than eye level, so we're gonna pop a little shadow line underneath those areas too, to imply that. Now that was too much, so just gonna go back in, take that out. So a lot of this is just going back and forth until you sort of feel the right effect. And standing back from it, we could maybe use a little dimension in our paint here. So I'm going to try and mix a bigger pool, so more to draw from. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. see the pose a little more lifelike, I think. And I'm gonna try and, that's creating a confusing juxtaposition there between her and these figures deeper in the background. So I'm gonna try and set her a little bit apart from that. And those figures back here really are standing more right there. And then reflections come down. Okay. And I'm gonna just pop a couple more heads in there. Oh, picked up some paint I didn't want there. And so this figure, where to begin? I think I need to imply more of a face here, so that's going to help. And the proportion is that head are a little too small, so I'm going to apply some more hair and even some sunglasses. Then we left a little room to pop out some bright there. We grayed that down fairly in the shirt, so I'm going to come in and show where that light is, eliminating that, which is all towards the middle and up to the shoulders. And I need to carve some better shoulders out here for her. She's gotten awful bulky. And there we go. And let's just pop out. This is so much easier to work on dry right now. I feel like I can get the shapes more where they should be. Go in and carve out. Really made her way more thin-hipped than she should be. So we go in and find some I know that's more hip than she deserves, but we'll we'll figure that out once we get some of these other shapes locked in here. And better. And I'm gonna try to follow this shape down. And I'm gonna we've lost a little of our swing to this figure, so I'm just trying to find that again. That's better. Again, we've got too much dark going on in those shorts for what her situation is in the light space, so I'm gonna just tone those, lighten those up, and that's much more credible there for what's happening space-wise. Okay. I really like what I'm seeing over here. This little implication of a yellow t-shirt is a really nice spot. And I'm gonna try and just, without overstating it, just enhance that just a hair. Yes, that gives some kind of vivid freshness and a nice contrast to the flesh tones there. And now I'm gonna look at our fella here. Okay. That definitely makes more sense. Okay, we're gonna pause it here. So I made some improvements to the figures on the left and softened them and toned down the darks. I added some brights in the water, and then I added an object in the water to give a place for the male to appear to be looking. Added some darks in the sky, and that was about it.